Today I'm going to be talking about the AFTERSHOCK Festival in Sacramento, California. I have been going for 4 years. This was my 4th time attending, and I decided I'd do a little recap talking about what went well, what exceeded my expectations, what failed to meet them, and just kind of give a summary of what I got into. But before I get into that, I do want to say a couple things. The first one being that obviously this is from the perspective of a single person. Everybody's experience at this festival is different from one another, so this is just my personal recap and perspective of what happened to me. And secondly, if I say something negative about a band you like, don't take it personally. I highly doubt the musician would. They're probably making more money than me. I was initially going to do this as sort of a vlog style where I basically just filmed everything I did.
Thank you for choosing Wendy's. What can I get for you?
Hi, may I get 2 Krabby Patty meals?
I figured it'd be a little more convenient for me if I just kind of recapped it. Obviously, I'm going to be including footage from the festival, but I figured this was a little more practical. I'm also going to go day by day and just mention things as they happened, just so I can give a more coherent timeline. So the first day obviously was Thursday. And like many others, the band I was most interested in seeing was Slayer. I have been a big thrash metal fan since my senior year of high school, which is when I first started getting into it. I was 17 when they embarked on their final tour, so obviously I wasn't old enough or didn't have the money to go see them on their final tour, couldn't make the distance anywhere. And as a Sacramentoian, I don't think that's a real word, but as a Sacramento citizen, they were in my backyard, and to be able to finally see them 5 years after I was convinced I would never have that chance was incredible. So Slayer, in my personal opinion, was by far the best set of the entire weekend. I am a little biased there, but they did put on one hell of a show, and I was one spot from the barricade for that. I usually tend to mosh at these types of things, but I really wanted to be in the moment with this, even though I technically did film a lot on my phone. I still had an absolute blast. I got there around 2:30 that day, and I had a friend who got there a lot earlier, so I did ask him to pick me up a Slayer t-shirt. I did PayPal him the money, and he was very kind enough to do that for me, so if you see this, thank you very much. I did think that most of the tour shirts were not the most pleasing to the eye, but I definitely did want to pick one up for the sake of it being a Slayer show, and I didn't think that would ever happen. This was the shirt that I selected. It was the eagle with all of their past album artworks worked into it. I thought it was pretty cool. One of my favorites of the bunch. There were a couple I was debating. It was either this one or the goat-headed one, and I'll put a picture of that one up on screen. Apparently I have a poor taste because this was one of the last ones that was available on the last day, but I did also really like the tombstones at the back. So that was one of the 2 shirts that I bought. And I also picked up a poster. I'm a sucker for posters when it comes to limited events. So even though it wasn't signed, $50 was a lot for a poster, but I was happy to pay that because the running gag in this video, I didn't think I would ever get to see Slayer. So Slayer, best band of the week for me. One is my most anticipated, and the show absolutely delivered. I also saw Till Lindemann. I was going into his show completely blind. I do know a handful of Rammstein songs, but I had never listened to Till's side project, and I was not anticipating what I got. I knew he was a weird guy, but some of the things you saw on that screen were very, very surprising, especially for a festival where parents are bringing their kids. I personally had no problem with it, but I did see a lot of families with kids making their way out of that set for good reason. It's not for everybody, but for someone who had no expectations for Till, he very much exceeded them, and I had a lot of fun at his set. The main reason that I went to Till's set is because I was planning on camping there after the show to get that coveted rail spot for Slayer, which paid off, but I ended up having a really good time. Other than that, the band that I was most excited to see was Ministry on Thursday. It seems like Ministry is a band that everybody except me had seen up to that point, so I was very much looking forward to that. Psalm 69 and Filth Pig are 2 of my favorite industrial albums, and fortunately they did play a fair amount of songs off of Psalm 69, so it was a good show. Pit was a lot of fun, and being able to hear New World Order was pretty cool. Going into Friday, there weren't a whole lot of bands I was interested in apart from Slipknot doing their 1999 set. And that is something I will mention, is that the bill for this year's AFTERSHOCK felt very, very hardcore heavy, and there was not a lot of room for genres like thrash or punk, and there was virtually no death metal, which is probably my favorite subgenre right now. I still managed to have fun. I still went and saw some bands that I was very surprised by. Because there wasn't a whole lot of stuff that I was too interested in seeing, and to answer the question of why I have a SpongeBob video on the back, I did wear this I did wear this Doodle Bob costume on the second day, and everybody really liked it. I probably had a good 75-ish people yell "me hoy me noy" at me throughout the day. I also had a good amount of people come up and want to take pictures with me, which was very surprising. But overall, it was a pretty cool experience. I did have an inflatable pencil that was lost in the Slipknot pit. So Magic Pencil, wherever you are, I hope you didn't break on someone else. But a lot of people had fun with this. I had fun wearing it, got a lot of laughs and smiles, and I think at the end of the day, that's probably what music festivals are all about. So Doodle Bob, thank you very much. And the last thing I will talk about for Friday is Slipknot. I am not the biggest nu metal fan, but I do quite enjoy Slipknot's first few albums, and hearing the 1999 one in its entirety, I believe, was really cool. I enjoyed the stage set. I enjoyed the costumes that they brought back from their debut. And the pit for Slipknot was probably the most brutal of the weekend, if not one of the most brutal I've ever been in. People were having fun, but it was definitely not for the faint of heart. I had kind of had an idea of what to expect. I've been in AFTERSHOCK pits before for headliners, and it was pretty much exactly what I expected. I saw a lot of bleeding. I saw a few missing teeth. So not sure if I'll ever go back in a pit like that, but Slipknot was pretty brutal. The set itself was incredible. Slipknot put on a phenomenal show. Finally being able to hear Eyeless was awesome. That is probably my favorite Slipknot song. And yeah, Slipknot absolutely killed it, and it was a great way to end Friday. Saturday was the day I was most interested on how I was going to go about handling my day, because there was a lot of stuff I wanted to do that all kind of conflicted with one another. And that's something I'll say real quick, is that having 5 stages for AFTERSHOCK was a little overbearing. I understand they want to grow and make more money and put on more shows and attract more people, but I do think keeping it at 4 stages was just a little more convenient for people. People had a better chance of seeing the bands they wanted to, so a lot of people, myself included, had to be picky about what they were going to see at times, and I think Saturday was the best example of that. But even with all that, I still managed to have a great day. I will say it was not because of the reason I thought I was going to. Iron Maiden was my favorite band when I was first getting into metal. They were my dad rock band. I feel like everyone kind of has one of those when they get into heavy music. Iron Maiden was mine. I've seen them once, and I was very much looking forward to their Future Past tour, because Somewhere in Time is one of my favorite albums from them. Probably not my favorite, but it's up there. So I thought that was going to be my set of Saturday, and it surprisingly wasn't. I thought Iron Maiden's crowd was a little rowdier than it should have been, and perhaps this is because it was at a festival and not at a headlining show. I feel like Iron Maiden for me is kind of a band at this point where you just kind of want to stand back and sing along, given that I listen to a lot of heavier stuff, and having people kind of bum rush to the front kind of killed the vibe a little bit. I also didn't think that a lot of the Senjutsu songs translated very well live. That's just my personal opinion. I doubt Bruce Dickinson gives a shit, but that's kind of how I felt. This isn't me trying to say that Iron Maiden put on a bad show by any means. Their show was phenomenal. Bruce Dickinson and co always does well. I just think it didn't really match the crowd vibe. I did have some friends tell me that the pit was very forced for the first half of the show. I was trying to get up to the front, but I eventually worked my way back because I was trying to enjoy the show, and having a bunch of sweaty dads trying to crawl over me didn't really fit the bill. That did not stop me from picking up a tour shirt though. So this is the other shirt that I bought for the weekend. It is an Iron Maiden Future Past tour shirt. I did go with the Can I Play With Madness t-shirt in blue, partially because I have enough black t-shirts and I thought getting a nice navy blue one was pretty cool. I also do really like the Can I Play With Madness single artwork with the fist going through the head, and it does have Fear of the Dark on the back, which was probably the song apart from The Trooper that got the crowd most fired up. But apart from Iron Maiden, I only saw 2 other bands that day, and it was Kublai Khan Texas, which was a hardcore band that everybody had been telling me to go check out. I was heavily debating between seeing them and Anthrax, and I was not disappointed at all. Even though I'm not the biggest hardcore guy, I had an absolute blast of their show. The band sounded incredible. The pit definitely had that hardcore feel. They even threw out like $300 worth of merch at the end of the set, which was very surprising. I don't think I've ever seen another band do that. So Kublai Khan, I am a fan now. And the other band that I knew I was going to enjoy, but I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did, was Ice-T's Body Count. I had missed them in 2021 because I was camping at the Rail to see the Misfits, so I wanted to rectify that mistake and I wanted to see them this year. Before going to the festival, I found out that Ice-T was going to be doing a meet and greet at one of the booths. I made sure to get there a little earlier, and I hopped in line and I was able to meet Ice-T. He was pretty cool, very quiet. I'm sure they wanted to get as many fans in as possible, so didn't try and strike up a conversation or anything, but I did get him to sign something. I was able to get Ice-T to sign my original pressing of Body Count's self-titled album, so this is definitely one of the coolest autographs I have in my CD collection now. I got to meet Ice-T and I got him to sign my CD, so if that wasn't the best part of my day, I don't know what was. And that's not to take away from Body Count as a band at all. Their set was incredible, super aggressive. Everybody was having a good time, both in the crowd and up on stage. Apart from Slayer, Body Count was probably my favorite set of the weekend. And if you had told me going into that day with Iron Maiden as the headliner, that Body Count would have been my favorite band, I would have called you crazy. I had a great time at Body Count. That's all I can really say. Thanks, Ice-T. And then on Sunday, it was the day that I was looking forward to the least, as many were. I, like many others, left right as Motley Crue began. And again, there weren't really any bands that day that I was too gung-ho on seeing, so I kind of just let my friends decide what I was going to see that day, and I did have a good time. They all camped at the rail for Disturbed, and I wasn't about to do all that because knowing Disturbed's crowds, I'm sure some fights were about to break out. I did get out of there, and I did watch Falling Universe's set from the back while eating a slice of pizza, but after that, I decided instead of watching Disturbed from the way back, I would go check out Flogging Molly. I had no idea what the fuck Flogging Molly was beyond a quick Google search, but I saw Celtic Punk, and I thought, hell yeah, I'm in, and I went. And it was a great time. It was the perfect band to end the weekend with. Just that high spirits, jolly Irish punk was really fun to dance along to. Everybody in the pit was having a good time and smiling, and I think it was just the best way to end the weekend. But other than that, that was pretty much my entire Aftershock condensed into however long this video is. I had a great time, as I always do. The only thing that kind of was disappointing, not just for me, but for everyone, is that the pickpocket problem from years past did resurface again. A lot of people got their shit stolen. Fortunately, no one in my group had that misfortune, but it is a problem. I don't really know how Danny Weimer would be able to fix that. Hopefully they can come up with something, but I don't have high hopes. They're always just going to find a way around that. So if anyone watches this before they go to a fest, whether it be next year's Aftershock or another Weimer or another metal festival, please, for the love of God, buy a tether, tie your stuff down so no one can steal it. Raw Sewage said it himself, anything to deter thieves is a good thing, and I would rather spend $10 on a tether than lose my $1,000+ phone. Lastly, I'll do a little lightning round talking about some of the things that I may have briefly touched upon in this video. First thing I'll talk about is price. Obviously, any vacation you take, whether it be a festival or some other thing, it's going to be expensive. I fortunately am a Sacramento local, so I didn't have to worry about paying for a room or an Airbnb or something like that. I know people who did, and I saw a lot of people have their reservations canceled and then the price risen way back up. That definitely is a very difficult part of taking. Also, a lot of the stuff at the event itself, food, merch, that all adds up. I fortunately do not drink, so I didn't have to worry about paying for alcohol, which seemed pretty pricey when I saw other people doing it. I spent just under $200 on merch and food, which sounds like a lot, but compared to some of the posts I saw on Facebook and Reddit, was actually a very conservative budget. I bought 3 t-shirts, 1 poster, and a few meals. I had an order of French fries with mac and cheese and bacon, which, even though it was overpriced, was fire from one of the food trucks. And then I bought a slice of pizza that I ate while I watched Ronnie Radke have a meltdown on stage. So Aftershock, it's an expensive thing every year. I'm very fortunate that I didn't have to worry about the room, so I was able to spend a little bit more on that. And then a question that I know everybody likes to ask is, what was my favorite band of the weekend? My top 3 were Slayer, of course. I've been wanting to see them forever, and I finally got that opportunity, and I could not have been happier with the set. Second place was definitely Body Count, just fucking insanity throughout the entire set, and Ice-T put on a phenomenal show. And then third place is probably either Slipknot or Till. I didn't know what I was getting into with the latter, and he exceeded my expectations. And Slipknot, I did know what I was getting into, and they still exceeded my expectations. So those are probably my top 3 or 4, however you want to look at it. I was also really impressed with Flogging Molly. I had no expectations going into it, and I had a really good time, and it was a great way to end my weekend. And then the last question I will answer is, do I recommend Aftershock or any other DWP festival for that matter to someone coming for a first time? And the short answer to that is yes. I do understand that this is coming from someone who didn't have to worry about paying for a room. This is someone who got to come home and rest and sleep in his own bed every night. So I am biased there, but I do think that DWP Fests, or any festival for that matter, is a lot of fun. And if there's something you really want to see on that bill, I definitely think it is worth taking a vacation to go see that. Thank you guys for watching. Please stay clean, stay smart, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys later.